Let us bear witness, Isagi Yoichi. Let's see if you truly are caged by destiny. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil from Fat doing to have it and keep it on me at all times. Yeah, fun fact. Here we are to do a breakdown / live action review and analysis of chapter 334 of Peak Luck, which is known as Time to Wake Up. And of course, you know what time it is. Yep. Well, now, you know we gotta preach, right? It's Peak Luck. It's Peak every week. And I genuinely think, is this the first corner kick in the series? I must not admit, there's no way it's the first. What happened when Kaiser? No, when Kaiser missed, that was just off him. He just straight whipped. So like, because the goal, like the thing is, right? I feel like the play either always completes or like I don't genuinely remember an actual corner kick in the narrative so far. So I'm excited for that alone. But before we get to the chapter itself, this is a rare time where I want to run over to the community bowl. Thank you to every single one of you, all 285 of you that did vote. What were y'all cooking though? This wasn't easy. Like what? The question was simple. Below fans, let me know. Do you believe in Hugo's suitable destiny theory, or do you think he's yapping straight nonsense? And 65% of y'all said this man Hugo may just be spitting. Like, don't get me wrong. I went through the comments of that, like all that comments, and people were there. I won't click on the comments. I'm not sure how many people are comfortable like just showing off the comments in the video, but like, still, regardless, I look at the comments, and like everyone there was at least like Hugo is partially wrong. So I was definitely, here's the thing, people were like, Hugo's like 100% wrong just because like, that's not how humanity works, and, or people are like, there are aspects of Hugo that are technically correct from like an optimization point of view, but in the grand scheme of things, he's still technically wrong, which I thought would be an easy, like, why does 65% of y'all say he might be spitting? What? What, like, so you think humans should have never worn clothes, huh? you think invention should just never happen, right? Yeah, like humans can't. We should never have driven cars before. Huh? Like y'all. If suitable destiny makes sense, we wouldn't even be here. You and me would not be in this moment reviewing a chapter of Blue Line. I am genuinely shocked. 65% of y'all went for the okie doke. Like even here's the thing, right? One of the commenters on the video, on that post in particular, went with the idea that from the specific perspective of soccer, and very specifically the idealization and the rationalization of focusing your different players optimally based on what is most suitable for them in that moment, they went down that pathway. And I do agree with them in the sense of like, maybe you should focus on optimization generally. Obviously, while the ideas of Blue Lock are fantastic and cool, amazing and beautiful, even within Blue Lock, we definitely do see characters picking their appropriate roles based on what they're more capable of doing. We've seen this with Nico. We've seen this with Aiku. We've seen, well, Aiku's kind of a weird case. He's kind of a weird case because he was like forced in the defender role. And then he kind of like, if anything, he had his suitable destiny kind of altered and then reformatted. And then he kind of like applied to, but essentially we've seen other characters in Blue Lock even follow the suitable destiny ideology, just on the sheer logical principle of, hey, not everyone's built to do a specific thing, so the most rational thing to do is work for the thing you're still good at. And that's the same thing that commentator was pointing out. In fact, I'm gonna show all the commenters there, but essentially, I agree with them on that front. Blue Lock even do agree with them on that front. But very simply, just the idea of suitable destiny theory in of itself, I think it's kind of nonsense, because humanity just wouldn't exist. It simply wouldn't be here on like any single level. In last review I went with like the super high ideas of like planes. Like that was the main one. Like humans can't fly, but we made planes though, and we've been to the moon. That's way beyond suitable destiny. Heck, but you could go down to the most basic things. If we were to go with suitable destiny theory, humans probably wouldn't be able to communicate. Can you imagine speaking a language if we went with suitable destiny? Like that doesn't work. It genuinely doesn't work. And even once you get to the societal level, any type of fashionable clothing, any type of technology, any type of general there's so many things that if we stuck with suitable destiny theory and we're like, oh, Hugo's actually spitting, this is how this thing works, human society simply wouldn't function. Humans don't work like that, unfortunately. So I was genuinely shocked. 65% of y'all actually going for that. I thought it was like an early poll thing. No, it's stuck like that. 35% of y'all wanted to see that man spitting. Y'all just like me for real. I'll get y'all. The 65% of y'all who did, none of y'all really commented. At least I'm assuming maybe that one commenter voted that way, but that's what I'm 285. The 285, let's say round up 300, so about 65%. So nearly 200 of y'all. I want y'all explanations on why you think Hugo was spitting. I read last week's comments like you do. I didn't see anyone really agreeing with the man. But with it being the case, hopping into chapter 334 itself, the corner kick. I'll just take it. exciting. It's like KARASU, but who too though? I mean, like obviously it would be perfectly time for it to go to Isagi, but like, let's see. If you keep striving to be the world's best striker, okay, Hugo, Blue Lock will be annihilated here, and then like. And I guess specifically in the context of what he was referring to, and I do like someone, and like it's an idea that I kind of tapped into, but I didn't go fully into it. There was a commenter on last week's review that went into the idea that Hugo is specifically still doing essentially what I mentioned. Well, two things I mentioned last review. I mentioned the idea of the like Ouroboros chain. Well, it's like, it's a weird orb, it's like not even an Ouroboros chain, it's like the ladder chain of, I'm using you, who is beneath me, to make me stronger, so, and then that person is also being used by somebody else to make them stronger, and so on, and so on, and so on, right? It's Rin making Loki stronger, and then Loki making Noah stronger, it was Isagi making Kaiser stronger, Kaiser making Noah stronger, is that ever-evolving chain. And I didn't even think Hugo like would believe in something like that or anything like that. I was like, oh, that doesn't really make sense. But I did go into the idea that maybe he's trying to bring Isagi to his level so he can crush him too to make himself better. But then people point out how those two separate ideas could actually be merged into one. The idea that Hugo sees the potential in Isagi if he were to embrace that number 2 role, and he wants to overcome him even there to make himself ever stronger. Sure, he is trying to force a suitable destiny, which doesn't seem like it would allow for the endless devouring of somebody else in that same position in order to make yourself greater. But in the whole logical idea of what Hugo wants, he would want a person directly compared as a number 2, so he could use them to grow better as a number 2. Because just because he would be number 2 in the world doesn't mean he wouldn't be competing against other number 2s. It's not like Hugo is the only one with this mindset. I already mentioned the idea that other Blue Lockers even have this mindset. From Nico to Haiku to Ryu to any character that's not trying to be the world's number 1 striker anymore. Right? Like, they can all score. That's one of the most dangerous parts of Blue Lock. But not everyone's going for that anymore. They're there under that pretense initially, but a lot of characters have changed that perspective. Think of, like, half the bench. Nanase, Kiora, even Corona. Like, none of these characters have the same, like, endless, in many ways, I will like to say it, but delusional dream of being the number 1 striker. But they have found a suitable destiny for them within that. And I'm very interested to see... I don't think Isagi's gonna fold, right? Like, that's the real thing. I don't think Isagi's gonna fold. But the interesting question will be, how shall he Puve? I don't even know I don't know what the fusion of those 2 words were, but I wonder how he's going to prove Hugo wrong. And if he'll get to prove him wrong in this game, or if we're going to have to wait forever for a hypothetical rematch, if Hugo's going to be proven incorrect. Let's see. Blue Lock will be annihilated here. Okay. The instant metaphysics, the instant, okay, up and then. Shut up. If you think you can outwit us. Okay. So we got Random guarding Ryu. Interesting. Why is Ryu all the way up? Like, there's a corner. What are you? Then again, I don't know enough about football. Do defenders come all the way up? Hold on. I know the Googler is not the best source, especially with the current scenarios going on with the Google. But do defenders in soccer... I know they score goals, but did soccer come up for corner kicks on the opposing team? Let me see. Yes, defenders often move up to the opposing penalty area during corner kicks, utilize the heading ability to score. Okay, so yeah, I did not know that. So good to know. So that's why Ryu's there. So we have Ryu being man-marked by Random. Isagi is entirely unmarked right now, but I presume Hugo's probably got his eyes on him. And then Loki's currently being man-marked by Ren. That's the most logical choice there. I wonder who isn't marked, though. Who isn't marked? Let's see. Shut up. If you think you can outwit us, then go ahead and try. But you know what? It is very interesting, right? And this is one thing I will give Hugo last chapter. He did touch a nerve. And I think it works that he touched a nerve against Isagi right now, because, he is currently uncertain about that position and being number 1. I think that is an interesting point for Isagi to be in. But it is also interesting to see Isagi react with what is arguably an illogical rage. Or not necessarily rage, but like Hugo says, the yapping, right? Like, oh, the fact that you're yapping back at me, bro. Like I hit a little something. Like, I know what I'm talking about a little bit, don't I, bro? Damn me up. Like, essentially, that's what Hugo's doing. And it is interesting, right? Because technically, Isagi, by giving into that, is almost making himself more, like, in all reality, I think a better response Isagi to have it to that, if Isagi were to not, I'm not gonna say even Hugo's really rage baiting, because it feels like I mentioned last chapter, there always does seem to be this genuine vibe that Hugo actually wants Isagi to do this, if not for his own sake, but for Blue Lock's sake, and then obviously for his own sake again to make himself better as a number 2 as well. But it would be interesting if Isagi took all that, and Isagi, confident and firm in himself, was like, okay, and like I feel like the best reaction would be to either give no reaction, like don't yap at all, or react here's the thing, differently, because he does acknowledge, like, yeah, I know I've always been built to be a midfielder, but it would be interesting to see Isagi almost react. I think if anything, this is how he's going to prove Hugo wrong, whether it be in this game or hypothetical rematch. I think Isagi is going to prove Hugo wrong by bringing up the irrationality of humanity relative to humanity's logic, and how ultimately it is the irrationality of humanity that's allowed them to reach the point where they can even have discussions of number 1s and number 2s. Like, Blue Lock definitely is a narrative that, as deeply interwoven as it is with soccer, it is obviously heavily interwoven with human nature. So I think if there's anything that Isagi could bring as a counterpoint to Hugo to prove him wrong, that he didn't do in that moment, but he could bring up in the future, or he could have done in that moment, is to talk about what we talked about. The fact that humans are innately irrational, and it is that irrationality that has allowed us to do what we do. We would not be number 1 on the planet in terms of, like, the megafauna, at least, because I believe humans are megafauna. Hold on. Maybe we not. I think we technically count because we're great apes. Hold on. Are humans megafauna? Are humans... I know humans are animals. Are humans megafauna? Oh, not engafauna. Megafauna. I believe we are. Are humans megafauna? Yes, humans are technically megafauna. Term brings extinct... Mammoths, science effect megafauna is large animals. Generally those weighing over 99 pounds, includes the average adult human. Yeah, so we're megafauna. But essentially, I think Isagi could bring an interesting idea to Hugo and, like, really tear him down by being like, of all the megafauna on the planet, if you logically analyze what humans have done, history itself is full of irrational people doing irrational things, sometimes either against or with logic, in order to evolve to something greater than we were before. That is why, in spite of what you say, in spite of hypothetical beliefs in my ability to be number 2, I know I could do better as number 1. Because it's that understanding of humanity that I have that you lack that makes me and the team I control and the team I lead greater. But, of course, once again, that's something that Isagi will likely either develop as a counter-response or could have had in that moment that is lost to time. Let's see. Then go ahead and try. Alright? Batra? No cross? What is this? Oh, wait. I see it though. I see a vision. There's the goalie. There's Loki and Rin. There's Rayo. There's Hugo. And there's KARASU. So Isagi's currently unmarked right now. And KARASU's dashing out. Okay, KARASU. Let's see. Huh? A side pass? Yeah. Y'all did Charles so dirty. There's another blue ball. I won't go back and scroll to that one. But there's another blue ball where I was like, who do you think is going to be the least, or no, who do you think is going to be the most important? And Charles got, like, no. Sorry, y'all. Poor Charles. He scored the first goal and everything. Y'all like, yeah, he's going to be irrelevant. That's crazy. I was like, that's not a simple cross. Well, I mean, presumably that you would think that they would know that you would expect a simple cross off something like that. So they would go for something within their wheelhouse, but different. The schmicks, right? And I think that's the always fun thing about, you know, logic and rationality and human nature as well. You can know what your opponent's going to do, but your opponent can also know that you know what they're going to do. And it becomes this endless mind game of like, man, because they know I have an answer to the thing that they're going to do, are they going to do that anyway and just attempt to brute force through it? Or are they going to mix me up? So should I prepare for the mix-up? Like, the idea that there is a 50-50 involved in everything is why I always say offense typically has a better chance than defense. It's not impossible. As a Pokemon player, I've lost to Mania style team. Even pseudo style teams. I'm like, just to regenerate, like, I've lost to a Alola, Tinglu, and what's that? Alola, Tinglu, and Galarian Slowking more times than I can count, just because they're immortal, they're eternal, and sometimes I just don't hit hard enough and I thunk over and over and over again. But there are cases where sometimes the best thing you can do is don't predict, don't do it, or realistically do something insane that they don't expect. The amount of games I've won with Galarian Slowking by staying in on a clearly about to sword dance King Gambit, clicking flamethrower, burning it, and then neutering the thing for the rest of the game while also taking like 75% of his health. It's a thing. These things happen. And that is one of those cases here where Blue Lock now doing the insane thing that still is within their wheelhouse, like me clicking flamethrower while I'm already in on King Gambit, which could easily one-shot me in a variety of ways. Sometimes you gotta go crazy with it, including Butcher's going crazy here with a side pass. Let's see. It's not a simple cross! Brody, there's no way you're under 20. There's no way you're under 20. I see that beard. You have a wife and kids at home. I was like, it's a short corner. Ah, wait a minute. Hold on. Hiyori? Are you actually going to do something, Hiyori? In my modern blue... No, wait a minute. I've been slandering you. I called you an Uber's, bro. Hold on, Hiyori. Don't get me excited now. Hold on. It's a short corner. Run the signal play. Okay, Hiyori taught that talk. What's the signal play? Okay. Interesting. So Rin pushes off Loki. Isagi gets behind the one guy. They're up to something. Oh, really? Goalie man. Oh, okay. I'm not going too much. Let me guess. I mean, like, the thing with Blue Lock is still the idea that any of them can score, right? And I guess, unironically, the thing with Hiyori in particular, right? As much as Hiyori's kind of been... I don't want to say he's just big bummy, but like, we as the collective have seen Hiyori's performance recently, or lack thereof. But the thing about Hiyori in particular is that if we remember his whole narrative point, it's not that he just serves Isagi, which is going to be interesting whole playing into the idea of like number 2 versus number 1 type thing, or just like who should be the leader and who shouldn't be. But very particularly, Hiyori is very akin to Hugo in a way. He is also a quote-unquote kingmaker, as someone, that is me saying that, someone brought that up in last week's video comment section, but essentially, the kingmaker idea, where like, Hiyori chooses who the greatest striker will be, Hiyori chooses who to send the pass to. And in this case, with Rin, with Isagi, with Karasu, with Rhea, like, there are so many options that ultimately, sure, you lock down Isagi, you lock down Rin, that doesn't matter. That doesn't, as long as he gets a clear shot, I mean, or even a clear cross in there, it could go crazy. Now, of course, there still is the issue of probability and where, like, essentially the lineup and how it goes, right? Obviously, the ball is going to be more dangerous at someone else's feet than another's, right? Like, Karasu would be dangerous to the ball, but he would probably be more easy to defend than a Rin with the ball. So it's once again playing that probability game, where, is this going to work? What is the likelihood of it working? Like how last chapter showed the probability of Rin like it was essentially a gamble of, okay, probability-wise, Rin is probably going to crash into whoever's defending him, Loki should crash into him, and then we'll go, since he uses a curve shot, he's going to be here, and that's where the ball's going to end up after he crashes, right? That's what Hugo's playing on. Now, in a case like this, there is that, like, basically unlimited probability. You have Aryu, who could go in for a header. You have Isagi, who could go in for a variety of things depending on how the ball ends up. You have Batra now back in the play depending on how quickly he gets up to the goal. You have so much, like, there's a lot, especially with the Hiyori play. So let's see. They're up to something. Cover your marks. Oh, darn. Yeah, so now, interesting. So he got right outside the goal box. But you know what? I honestly, I respect Loki's goal here. I was about to say, wait, why did he... Because, like, the goalie says, cover your marks! And then Loki immediately goes to break away from Rin and go down to Hiyori. But that is also, like... I don't know. I've made my mind up. I may not stream Silk. I may have to just place a little bit of Silk on my own, because I want to play Showdown so badly. So for the people who don't know the Pokemon references I'm making, they can make a little bit more sense. But very specifically, I do sometimes understand where half the time you don't even want, like, how do I put this? You want to blitzkrieg your opponent so badly that they can't even think of a counter, right? There's sometimes where I'm playing Showdown where I'll notice, hey, if I set up with this Mon, round start, I sweep the whole team. I have the coverage, even if they tear into something weird currently in Gen 9. I think I can do it. Like, there's some times where I have Ogre Upon Wellspring, I'm like, I outspeed everything on the team. I have Horn Leech, not Power Whip. I can live and body back. I just need this Swords Dance. And that's in single Zillion, and sometimes I just go in, boom, swing an entire team. I've done that with Iron Valiant. I've done that with Ogre Upon Wellspring. I've done that with Really, it's just those two, because those are like the two main setup mons on my main teams. Like sometimes it's Curum, sometimes it's Blaziken. Like there are a variety of times where sometimes you just rush your opponent down so quickly with so much damage that they can't think of anything, and that's clearly what Loki's going for here. He's going for the Blitzkrieg. He's like, okay, I don't even need to cover Rin. I don't need to cover a Mark as long as I get the ball back. And of course, with his Godspeed, we've seen him cover farther distances than this, and it looks like in this instance he immediately forces Hiyori into a pass, or maybe he wouldn't have done that if Loki didn't immediately book towards him. So that's putting the pressure on, putting defensive pressure on the offense. That, once again, for a Pokemon analogy, it's very akin to your opponent. See, the thing is, I don't play enough defensive Pokemon to know, but I think it's very akin to like a Pokemon's, like in doubles, Grimmsnarl. It doesn't have the same ability as a Alolan Ninetales with like Aurora Veil, which sets up basically a double light screen, or a light screen and reflect. It picks. So ultimately, depending on the Grimmsnarl, since it has Prankster, unless you have another Dark type out which can negate the Prankster, a big thing that an opponent will do, depending on what team you have. I've noticed this whenever I'm playing my like doubles OU team that has Torkoal, Chiyu, which is just big damage, round start, double heat wave. They'll immediately set up light screen. That puts up a defensive wall that forces me to rethink how I'm going to attack, because now I need to either slaughter that thing before it sets up protect, and then I need to build the rest of the game around, okay, it's probably like Clay, how much damage can I do in these turns before these 8 turns wears out? Can I still win the game in that position? And that's what Loki's doing. He's putting that defensive pressure on the offense to make them act quicker and probably get them to move a little bit more rationally. But let's see. Okay, Karasu's right here. This is dangerous. Okay. Across from Hiyori from the left. Could it end up at Karasu? Yo, a Hiyori and Karasu team here would go crazy. Now I'm looking at it. Botcher's free, but he's a little bit too close. And obviously this guy's going to guard him. Rin should be free, but Hugo's right there. So I'm assuming Hugo, like if Loki's meant to press the offense here, I'm assuming Hugo's going to immediately fall in and hook into Rin. Then I see Sagiori being covered over here, so I don't think Sagi's a safe pick. And Ryu, he could go in for a header, but this guy seems tall enough to at least compete with Ryu, so it may not be worth the risk. So right now, everyone's covered. So I'm interested to see where Hiyori's going to. Wait a minute, the Schmicks? Wait a minute, the Schmick Loki! Getting Schmicks? But you know, I guess... But you know what the thing is, though? Loki does have crazy short turns. Like, we know Loki does have that, like, amazing ability to just, huh. So, shout outs to Hiyori for baiting him. So, that's actually crazy. So, this is, funnily enough, I can actually still stick with my original Pokemon analogy with a Grimmsnarl, right? In Doubles OU, there are times where Aurora Veil, Light Screen, all these wonderful defense-raising things happen, right? Oh, no. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, you don't have a Pokemon with Light Guard? Oh, guess what? I don't care if you can break their Light Screen off. Terra, Fire, Choice Specs, Beads of Ruin, Heat Wave, In the Sun, double Heat Wave with Torkoal. You're still dead! You're still dead! That's the kind of, like, where you put so much offensive pressure on that even the defensive, like, response to try to make you do something else doesn't work. You can just ignore it. It's like, oh, well, that's a nice Light Screen you have there. Shame you don't have a solid fire resist. Die! So that's kind of the same thing Hiyori's doing here. Even though he had the defensive pressure put on, even though Loki set up the light screen, or in this case, since they're playing Fizz, set up the reflect to have all damage, Hiyori jabaited him and then schmixed him. Oh, he gave the ball right back to Butcher. Okay. So they're going with the double schmixer. Rudy. Is Butcher going to score himself? Too late. All right, okay, Loki in front. Okay, but you know what, though? I think it is a good thing to show just how powerful Blue Lock is. Loki still is a monster. Loki still is a creature. He's still pretty much, like, undeniably probably the strongest dude Gen 11. Like, the only, like, implied narrative competition he has is, like, Bunny. Mainly because Bunny, like, you know, plays with Lavahino and also is the one who crushed Sei. So... Sei, with all of his narrative glaze, Bunny's still implied to be above Sei, but Loki's literally implied to just be like the next world talent. Bunny's gotten a bunch of glaze, but it's never seemed to be that level of glaze. So it's good to show that our blue lockers, Hiyori especially, who's been needing some feats, gosh darn it, is able to debate and then fry Loki like this. Of course, Loki's not a defender, he's a striker, but still, good for him to be able to react to Loki's speed and bait it out like this. Let's see. Totes! I don't know what it is about Botcher, man. Sometimes he's drawn, just looking a little funny. Let's see. Alright. Botcher again. He's right by the line. Because that's the thing. So, Hiyori was just outside the box. He was right in there. and then he gave it right to Bachara. So I'm assuming the goalie is referring to this line here. So let's see what Bachara goes and does. Because honestly, he could like if he's feeling spicy. Now currently everyone man marked. I mean, Loki could probably just pivot and then run his cheeks down. But in this moment, everyone's man marked by him, right? Rin's gonna be marked by Hugo. Hisagi's locked down. Ari's locked down. Maybe Bachara's just gonna go in and take it. Gee, I was like, he's right by the line, but I won't let you make a close-up shot. Buddy, you spreading it wide open for. You busting it wide open for. What you talking about? But okay, I didn't think about that, right? Obviously, the implication here is that there was one more man to man Mark Bachara, and it was the goalie himself. I didn't think about that. Goes to show how much you know about soccer. But actually, I was just talking about Bachara being drawn funny, but this is actually a good under the chin shot. It still is very round, but still good work from Nomori here. A great way to show like the camera essentially being beneath the ball. Let's see. What is he going to? The question is, how insane does Bachara be here? Does he like, okay, fine, I'm not going to take this close-up shot? Or does he be like, we ball, and immediately go to fry him anyway? Let's see. This is when I do something cool. Oh? Okay, so Bachara doesn't go for the shot. Okay, so Renoir, I'm not sure. But he was enough, at least to make Bachara be like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. He passes the ball immediately. Does he even nutmeg this guy? Oh, to an open right. Okay. Let me see. Does this make sense based on what we saw before? Where's Rayo here? Okay, Rayo's likely a little bit off panel here. I know we saw Rayo earlier in the chapter, so let me see if I can find him. Rayo is... I know I saw him. Where's Rayo? Because he passed the Rayo. Where's Rayo? Rayo's right here. So I guess Rayo was unguarded. And then this... But where did this guy with the same poor eye design in the more occasionally does? Where did he come from? Okay, he's right here. In fact, he was originally on Bachara. So when goalie said cover your marks, this guy immediately cut in to cover Bachara. And then Bachara uses the double press here as bait. And not even as bait, he takes the double press and then passes through. Oh, no, not through. He passes past. I thought he like nutmeg the guy in motion. But he passes through this guy here to get it back to Rayo, who technically currently is unmarked because everyone else is clogged. But Rin is right here. Okay, I didn't see Chappa here before, so Chappa's technically on Rin. But then Hugo's clearly going to come in and intercept Rayo here. Let's take a look. Pass away from the goal. Nice bocce. I'm wide open. Now, you want to talk about the real myths. If I were to stick with the Pokemon analogy, Rayo, obviously the easy equivalent would be Ditto. He copies and he just takes whatever moves you do. I wouldn't even say he's like Ditto. He's like one of those Pokemon that has like a million different sets. You truly don't know what's gonna hit you in the face until it hits you in the face. He's Kyurem because like the biggest coin toss ever, at least in my days of playing Showdown, right, is, man, what is this Kyurem? Is it a Fizz Kyurem? Is it a Special Kyurem? Okay, if it is a Fizz Kyurem or a Special Kyurem, what's its Terra type? Is it going to tear into a Fire type to be immune to Burn? Is it going to tear into a Ground type to be immune to Para? Like, there's so many different Kyurem sets that you don't know what's going to happen until you get hit by one. And of course, if, one of my favorite Kyurem sets to run is the big damage as quick as possible. Oh, I just boomed you. Like, specifically one of my teams that I run, I literally call it Q-Rai. It's a Darkrai Kyurem team. Initially, it was double specs, like Kyurem had specs, and then Darkrai had specs. So they just did big damage depending on whichever I sent in first. But then I switched Darkrai to Expert Belt because, man, specs Darkrai, it clunks into a lot more things than you think. So I just use Expert Belt to get a little bit extra damage. But Kyurem, the amount of times I've run into Sticky Web teams, admittedly, one of the last times I tried to do this, it lives on 10. That must have been a max specially invested, or I must have had a really bad roll. But one of the good things about Specs Kyurem, against Sticky Web teams in particular, is that Araquanid, despite being super specially bulky, as long as you get the double stab with Terra, plus Choice Specs, plus Freeze Dry, you can sometimes, at least usually, that's typically how it goes for me, I can just one-shot through all that. Sure, it burns the Terra early in the game, but it prevents Sticky Webs, and I do have ways for Webs removal, but sometimes it's not worth the removal at all. And that's the thing with Rayo, where he could be a Fizz Kyurem, he could be a Special Kyurem, he could be a Fizz Kyurem that's terroring Fire, he could be a Fizz Kyurem that's terroring Ground, he could be a Special Kyurem that's terroring Fairy. The amount of times I've been mixed by Kyurem specifically, and that's Rayo. So let's see. Nice bocce. I'm wide open. Are you? No shooting for you. Copy machine. I don't know. Why am I giving Hugo such a deep voice? But yeah, all right. So this is, honestly, I'd say, this is some of Nomura's best work for like clearly showing us where everyone is and everything being readable, right? Because what did I call? Hugo would be there to intercept, and Hugo's here to intercept. So he reaches the point by the time the ball reaches Rayo. So let me reformat Hugo's voice. I don't know why I have it so deep in my register. I have it deep in my normal speaking voice. Are you? No shooting for you, copy machine. Ooh. I wonder, but you know what though? Considering Rayo's role, I wonder how Hugo feels about him in particular. Like, on like multiple levels. Obviously in the soccer way, naturally. But I wonder, like, considering what Rayo's suitable destiny was, does Hugo hate Rayo? like, yeah, I do wonder. Does Hugo hate Rayo? Because, like, once again, he does actually look quite vitriolic here, especially with these eyes swirling like this. But the reason I'm questioning that is Rayo's suitable destiny isn't even on the pitch. He had a suitable destiny laid out for him by his family, the Mikari Corporation. He was just meant to take that over and do this, that, and the third. So I wonder if Hugo feels extra prejudice towards Rayo because he is, like, well, obviously next to Isagi, one of the biggest examples of completely denying one's suitable destiny. And of course, with Rayo being able to do, like, literally anything thanks to the copy ability, he's like 50 million different things that all technically don't have any one particular destiny. Neither does Rayo, really, at this point, outside of winning the World Cup. So I wonder if Hugo, like, in particular with Rayo, especially after watching all the film on Rayo's like, like, you know, because he's one of the biggest arguments against Rayo. He is another one of those big ideas of suitable destiny being flat out wrong based on the natural abnormalities and inconsistencies and illogicalities of human nature. Oh no, I don't know. I thought something. Let's see. Debated though, debated. Okay. Shooting. Bro, I really hit him with the. Oh. You forgot I'm a multi-tool, huh? Even though you called me God Machine? Let's see. That's not the plan. Okay. Interesting. Ooh, wait a minute. That's even crazier. So the first ball bounce gets it to Rayo. But Rayo lets it bounce again right past him. He whiffs the shot. So he debated. Okay, that's cool. So he says, Bocce, I'm wide open, baiting Hugo in, locking him down. We know Rayo's physically capable enough to probably compete with Hugo at least a little bit, though Hugo also seems bigger than Rayo, which is actually very, very good considering how big Rayo is. But he whiffs the shot, and this whiffing of the shot also locks Hugo down. So Hugo, essentially, if he were to break back to Isagi, he would have to hit a hard curve, which, while Hugo probably has good short terms, we haven't seen it just yet. But that's a crazy play within a play within a play. So first, this is actually some fat multi. Oh, well, there's Charles. I see Charles, but this is a fat brain multi-layered play. So you go in with the corner kick. Yuri goes in, fakes the cross, gives it right to Bachura. Bachura goes in, or right now, inverse. Bachura goes in, fakes the cross, gives it to Hiyori. Hiyori and Bachura dash up the field. Hiyori baits Loki in, brings him out from the defensive line, fakes another cross, gives it right back to Bachura. Bachura goes in, runs in straight for the goal, gets double pressed, instantly gives it up to Rayo. Rayo brings in, draws Hugo, not for a charge or anything like that, this is football, or this is football, but not the football I'm thinking of, and I don't even think that's like the right usage of the word charge there, but essentially, he baits in Hugo, lets the ball whiff to give it to Isagi. Okay, let's see, he ignored it? Weren't you going to crush me with logic? You second best fit. But see, he's not going to score, is he? He's not going to score. Not only because I literally just see Charles blocking him on the next page, but also, like, Isagi. Unfortunately, like, and you know what, though? I'm a person who confidently, and then whenever I say this, people are like, that's not a good way to think. But I confidently believe some of the best motivation you truly can have is being rage baited. But you gotta how I put this, you got to take that negative energy and multiply it by itself to make positive energy on some JJK type beat. Because it's fine to acknowledge when other people degrade you or insult you to a degree, but you cannot almost be consumed by the hunger of that. You need to be more flexible in the idea of like taking it, in processing it, and then putting it out as something different. This is Isagi specifically responding to Hugo's accusation and being satisfiedly angry about it. But ultimately, it's clear that he didn't think this all the way through. And what Hugo is saying in particular, his words got to Isagi, and he's right. He completely forgot about the other confirmed Metavision user who stopped him in the past. If you remember, back in the PXG game, the second last series game Isagi played, Charles did a very similar thing, except that he literally stopped I think Charles facing Kaiser Impact, it was Karasu who blocked Isagi in particular. But Charles has already shown the capacity to intercept Isagi. So naturally, when Isagi thinks, oh, Hugo's locked down, Loki's free, I'm good. And he says, this is mine. Charles immediately comes out of nowhere and shoulder checks him. But let's see, was this all part of Isagi's plan? Or did Isagi end up proving Hugo right here and falling short because he was too narrow-minded based on wanting to overcome Hugo in particular? Let's see. Not yet! Huh? The Contrarians. And no Metavision either. We know, like, you know Charles Bayside's our Metavision. We've seen him use Metavision, so no Metavision. So it was Charles on the fly, bro. I know I shouldn't just read Metavision. Like, just because Metavision isn't drawn consistently doesn't mean it's not being used. But still, Charles immediately comes and shuts that down. And that's crazy from Charles, too. Because Charles, at least build-wise, should not be comparable to Isagi. I know that sounds crazy, but, like, Isagi has gotten much physically stronger. So the fact that Isagi does get knocked off by this, he truly was not ready for this. At least that's what it seems like. The Contrarians here! Let's see. Ugh. Whenever Blue Lock uses a pattern we don't know, we keep a close watch on the most annoying spot, aka where Yoichi Isagi is. That's my job. And it is, unironically though, as much as I think Charles actually isn't the best physical matchup for Isagi, I think it is smart to have him on Isagi. Because let's think about it like this. Loki is a striker for once. Like, realistically, he shouldn't really be back in the defensive line that often, but it's Blue Lock, so of course the striker's going to be back in the defensive line very often. But if Loki's locked down, specifically taking care of Rin, it's number one versus number one in that case. He's going to be consistently on Rin. And Hugo is a flex kind of player, right? Where he just goes for the most dangerous spot in the moment. Usually it's Isagi, but then in this case it was Rayo. He's always going to be busy. Charles has that, like, real random freedom where he does have the capacity to track anybody. He does have that same logical understanding of the game. And he also, in a way, just like how I mentioned, it's clear that even Loki doesn't fully believe in Hugo's philosophy, as he doesn't see Hugo as his number two. He sees Charles as his potential number two to make him grow stronger. Charles has that contrarian mentality in a way. He understands how Blue Lock thinks in many ways, shapes, and forms, because he thinks like Blue Lock. So, of course, with his metavision, his understanding of the game, he would be the perfect person to put down on Blue Lock's heart. Him or Hugo both. Hugo through specifically sticking to the whole logical idea that Isagi is heavily steeped in, and Hugo by abusing the contrarian or illogical through through logic that that Isagi is steeped in. And it does make sense that those two are the ones who can consistently or specifically be built to hard counter Isagi. But let's see. Ugh, no way. They ruined our first signal play. But see, that's it. That's it. He was so Isagi really wasn't ready. He fell for the okie-doke. And, like, not, to be fair, he didn't fall for the okie-doke, let's say. But he was a little bit jebaited. He was a little bit jebaited. And Hugo did technically prove him right. He's like, hey, we crush you. Blood doesn't work. And right now, clearly, blood isn't working. Let's see. Pass it, Isagi! Come on, over here! I mean, yeah, right now he's being locked down by Ciampa. Though, admittedly, Loki could probably just fault this guy. If I fault this guy, he's like 5 feet away. So I may not risk it to Rin. What about KARASU? What about Aryu? Where did they go? Like, I'd say maybe give it to someone who's not man-marked by, who's probably not being hunted by Loki. Let's see. If you embrace your destiny as second best. See, I keep going, you know what? Even though it's unrationally deep for Hugo, I'm going to keep giving him this voice. I feel like it just fits him now. Let's see. If you embrace your destiny as second best, Blue Lock can get even stronger. Shut up! Oh? I'm gonna live as number one! Oh. I didn't, you see, I didn't get too hyped. Cause I was like, wait, what does that say? Let's say, Patra, what do you say? Go? Go! Okay. Yeah, but Renoir, he catches it. This is the only chance. This is the only place it could have gone. Yeah. He genuinely, and like notably, this is a very, and it's funny, right? I don't think I went into this as much last review as I should have, but I'll go into it now. Isagi is a very weird character. In the sense of, he wants to be the number one striker, right? But at the same time, he has admitted numerous times in the past, especially during the New Aegis League, that he is more than willing to break himself down. To sort of like, to transcend his own existence in a way. And be like, I don't care what I need to do. as long as I can produce the goals required for our victory, right? He said this many times. He's like, I will become a machine solely for producing goals. And we know in that logic, in that machina, in the willingness he is to become that machine, he has shown the willingness to give up the ball. Even when he's deep in it. Remember, Prime Manshine Isagi, he didn't score one time that match. He used Yukimiya. Think about Isagi even specifically manipulating that. Well, no, to be fair, that led to his goal. But essentially, we've seen Isagi numerous times be able to take the more logical route, not entirely be consumed by his ambition. But now, Hugo has unironically lit the flame of that contradiction in Isagi right here, right now. He's like, hey, Isagi, you want to be number one, right? That's dumb. Be number two. You know you'd be better at that. That's your logical destiny. That's your suitable destiny. And now, where a more logical Manshine Isagi may have passed the ball, right? This may have been easy eats. I mean, who knows? Loki, once again, could have fallen out the sky. But let me see where Loki is relative to here. Yeah, I don't see Loki anywhere here. But like legitimately, Loki could have fallen out of the sky. But a more logical Isagi who was truly sticking to that idea of, I'm going to be a machine that produces goals, he would have passed up the ring, got the assist, and just kept it pushing. Right now, they're down. They need the goal. But no, Isagi in that moment, hearing, come on, pass it, give it to me, be number two to my number one. Because Hugo got in his head, and Isagi was already feeling insecure about his number one spot, he fumbles the bag. That is that case where sometimes, and this goes into what that commenter was talking about, Only ASMR, I believe, is the commenter's name. They mentioned that they were cool and they mentioned videos. Hold on, in fact, hold on, let me make sure I'm creating them properly. One of many ASMR, there we go. But essentially they brought up this idea too, where sometimes you essentially need to be willing to subjugate yourself. In a way, like as much as human individuality is very, very important, and the logic of that is very, very important, you do need to sort of like, well, you need to do what Isagi does. You need to be able to transcend the understanding of yourself and realize, hey, as much as I want to do X, we really need Y and Z in this moment, and I can do Y and Z. You need to be able to be flexible. You need to be able to fit into multiple places. In this case, Isagi was so focused on number one, and the idea that he was being forced down to number two, that he could not accept the logic of it. Which is interesting, right? Because he clearly activates Metavision here. He's clearly using logic. He's predicting. Even Charles seems to be caught off guard by the shot. Everyone is caught off guard by the shot. It doesn't seem to make sense. And of course, because it doesn't make sense, it fails. And of course, because it was limited, it fails. Because it came from his weak foot. Who knows? Maybe if he actually had a clean shot with his right foot, his non-weak foot, maybe this would have went in, but he didn't. They had prepared for that eventuality. As Renoir says, this is the only place it could have gone. There were limited options. The shot course was blocked off. The most logical route for it to take is the route that was taken, and Renoir was prepared for that, likely by Hugo. It is the idea that sometimes you need and it's crazy because it's the idea of you have to dance back and forth between rationality and irrationality to succeed many times in life, right? I think of this in like almost every single level, on the personal level, really, especially on an interpersonal level. You can in many cases, depending on what kind of interpersonal relationship you're developing, but like with friends, the amount of illogical things I've done with and for and alongside my friends is absurd. Like Jalen's like, I look back on something that done with friends, I'm like, what was wrong with us? What on earth were we cooking? But that is a case where sometimes you need to be logical. And at the same time, there are those same friends where I've looked at a situation and be like, okay, let me be the logical one here. Even with the current setup, like I need to be logical. You need to find that balance. You need to be able to pick wisely. And Isagi was unable to pick wisely because he was steeped in what Hugo was talking about. And that's an interesting struggle to see Isagi face. He fell for the okie doke because it's funny. He believed his own hype too much in a way that Isagi with a clearer mind wouldn't have. He would have passed the ball, they probably would have scored. But nope. Not at all. But let's see. I can now read the sexes a little bit too tiny. So let me see. Help me. Scroll. There we go. Huh? He stopped it! All Japan is like, no! Me too. See? Without your too-split-good volley or your direct shot, you're a below-average striker. At this rate, Blue Lock will lose because of you. It's time to wake up, Yoichi Isagi. You can change. But see, like, funnily enough, that technically, I mean, like, to be fair, I get what Hugo means. That wasn't necessarily his two-gun splagooter. because it wasn't a mix-up. It was just his weak foot. But we've seen that this tech has worked before, right? That's the whole point of Isagi developing the left shot. The two-split Guder volley is an evolution of his weak foot and his ambidextrosity. It's just that in this case, it was not enough. So, as Hiro says, without it, you're average. I wouldn't say so. I'd say having a solid weak foot like Isagi does is good. It just wasn't enough in this case because he was consumed in the wrong moment. He's consumed by his ambitions. That is incorrect. But as prior, Hugo, like I said, was kind of spitting straight nonsense the last chapter. Despite 65% of y'all thinking he wasn't. He is very, it's very much cherry picking, right? It's cherry picking, and it's cherry picking that's working. It's the idea of picking out specific evidence and using specific examples and using the present context of a moment to kind of lead an argument into your favor, even though you may understand and your opponent may understand that's not how that works. And typically, in a good argument, someone will be able to refute you based on the idea that you're cherry picking evidence and then bring up counter evidence. Right now, though, Isagi doesn't have any counter evidence. Well, he does, but he's not using it. He's falling for the bait because he's engaging with it in the wrong way. And that is interesting to see. Let's take a look. Know your place. Obey your destiny. Who is he feeling like with me? Two things. Who is he feeling like in the obey your destiny? Who are you? Who are you, Hugo? You say nothing. But number two, why am I voicing him like that, bro? Why am I giving him such a deep register? But that's very interesting. That is enough. Where like they all seem to be bringing it up. But you know what though? I guess it is a very interesting direction to tackle, right? Not just Isagi's own uncertainties about being number one, but very specifically seeing Blue Lock weaknesses without Isagi. All I'm saying, you do have two people on the bench known for their unpredictability. Two people on the bench capable of being a team. And two people on the bench who aren't Isagi. Oh, jeez. Am I saying bench my favorite character? Yes. I want to see Shido and Baro team up. Please! Let's see. For real? Darn. What are we gonna do? Mix them! Keep trying! Mix them up! Yo, it's not that deep. Let's see. We can't use Oichi Isagi? Well, yeah. Well, still, I don't know. It is a little bit. Maybe I am tweaking a little bit, but it does feel very akin to the Nigeria game, where like, yeah, Isagi's very, very important, but y'all are more than capable on your own. Y'all are still more than capable. Like, you don't have to use Isagi for everything, as much as you would like to. Do your own thing, or do your own logical thing. And in fact, if anything, use Isagi Yoichi more as bait if he's going to stay on the pitch. Honestly, with Ego looking at him right here, Ego may be like, Baro, take off the jacket. Shido, take off the jacket. We're kicking Isagi Yoichi off the pitch. Let's see. Oh, I thought we were gonna get a Hiyori X Urasuma, but here we go. Let's see. Suitability, destiny, the world's second best. Of course. You know, I didn't even think about that. Of course, if there's any character who would possibly, and he's in the flow state right now. Who he feeling like? Who he feeling like? But and technically the play, well, I think this play is technically over. But technically, Renoir is about to kick the ball back in, because I don't think the ball didn't go out. He just caught it, so they're going to return back to play. But with that being the case, because you can already see Loki getting ready to charge up the pitch. But of course, Karasu would hear all this and be like, "Wait a minute, maybe that's me." Because of course, Karasu has been, or he defines himself by quote unquote his own mediocrity, the fact that he's average, and he uses his averageness against others to leverage their non-averageness against them. He goes for the weakest link. He is the Hugo. Even more than Isagi. He is the Hugo of Blue Lock. So Karasu hearing all this and being like, wait a minute, suitability, destiny, the world's second best. He's finding himself a role. Hugo, he's awakening an interesting individual. So Karasu, if I was expecting this to be a Karasu game, but I wouldn't complain. Overall, a W chapter. I like Isagi failing. I hate to say it. As much as I love Isagi Yoichi, and as glad as I am that he's been having success after success after success after success, I am glad to see he's still human. Right? He's still human. And ultimately, it is only human to make mistakes like this in the heat of the moment. It is only human to fall short due to one's own hubris. It is only human to want to define yourself by you. Right? I think ultimately everyone wants to have their own self-definition. One of the things that I've noticed that I dislike the most is being labeled something that I didn't want to label myself, just on things that I can't control or anything like that. I want to be able to define myself. And seeing Isagiyoshi struggle with self-definition as he's being forcefully given a definition by someone he doesn't respect, someone he doesn't care for, someone he wants to prove wrong, and ultimately, in this instance specifically, that want to define himself leading to him proving that person right. That's beautiful to see. That's beautiful to see, and that's Isagiyoshi alone. Hugo, Renoir, shout out to them, bro. Most active goalie we've seen outside of Gagamaru. Then, for Hugo himself, I do like that once again, he's like, if you cherry pick and completely shut out a whole bunch of context about human nature, he sounds right. Look, he was proven right in this instant, but he's clearly still wrong, right? He fell for the Reo Okidoke. Of course, he had a contingency set up in, this man, Mark Isagiyoshi. But if Isagi made a different choice here, if he made a more logical choice, they probably could have scored. And Hugo's entire philosophy would have been proven wrong. As we see, he fell for the Okidoke with Reo, who he probably has certain feelings about. But, with it being the case, I'm going to see Hugo get pressed more and more and more and see how his philosophy changes and evolves. Charles utilization. I'm happy, man. First, he's scoring the first goal immediately. Then he's shutting down Isagi, at least setting up Isagi to be shut down. That's actually fantastic. I'm happy Charles is being allowed to do things. And then, for the rest of the team, I'm happy that Hiyori was allowed to do things. You don't know how happy I am that Hiyori was allowed to do things. He fried Loki a little bit. That was clean to see. Bachuru, he set up real nice and clean. It was a good sequence, and it was a good way to show how well oiled and proper Blue Lock is a machine, but it's clear that they need a new beating heart. And in that case, speaking of, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave brand new heart in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notifications bell so you don't miss out on any videos like them on the channel. Also even to have a Patreon down below where you support me for as low as $1. Come on, a month. These exclusive videos, the content, and more. You're also going to become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include live reactions, so the series I have to review, ad-free variations of all my videos, early ad-free access to all my videos, early ad-free access to all my videos over on the second channel that got the reaction as well. All those videos from 45 minutes to 2 hour long live reactions will get uploaded over here early for patrons members exclusively ad-free. And on top of that, you get your name listed at the end of every single video I produce. If you are a $3 member or a $3 patron or higher, you get your name listed and read aloud at the end of every single video I produce. On top of that, I also do have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below. You drop 5 minutes short video, 20 minutes long video. And if you are ever interested or confused in all the gaming / Pokemon terminology that I use, I do stream every Friday at 8 p.m. EST over on Twitchy at that got the control link down below. You can come hang out, we chat, we yap about literally anything and everything from Blue Lock to all other topics. So feel free to roll through. But regardless, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. These are nail clippers. This is that guy with the pencil writing off. I'd like to thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Glacier XZ, Zera, J2MA, Giyomi, Buddha Uda, Yuki Ally, Grim, Ollie, The Boy, Corey Watson, Damon Brown, Magic, CCC, Dino, Hector Gonzalez, Tim Thomas, Keving, Julian Perez, RXN, Nevis97, Logan Guzman, Dead Meme, Keon Stewart, Donovan McIntosh, Hamza Idrisi, BNA DNA, Edwin Idbignoba, Straw, Athenzi Shear, Antavius Mitchell, Sewer Flame Zero, Weary Exile, Window Life, Alex Kenny, Victor Jacobs, Todd, The Practical One, Landon Clapwick, Heath Nelson, CAET, Funny Dude, Jagoda, Plant Crone, Striker Man, Brandon Payne, Black Sage, Multi-Batman Superman, Ramondo Furen, Zalims, Enzo, Union I Metatron, Sheesh King, Joe Bean, Aswin, Hedy Prasetya, Sleepin' John, JMB, Katie, The Young Family, Pastel Pandora, Sino King, and NMA. Then, lady, thank you to Artline Art Tier patrons, A+A, Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Karina Hernandez, and Lil Kodo. Then, lady, thank you to our Inc. Tier members, King RTX and Shrimpo the 4th Shrimp 06, along with Zom. And then, lady, thank you to our digital art tier members, J Warrior, AZ Void, and Valden Nissan. And I'd like to give a final thank you to our colored art tip patrons, Walkie Munoz, and Aonesto902 at gmail.com.